What does it mean to live well? This question has echoed through the marbled halls of history, whispering its urgency into the ears of each generation. Yet, in the clamor of modern existence, its essence remains as elusive as ever. I am Aristotle, a philosopher of ancient Greece, a teacher of Alexander the Great, and a student of the venerable Plato. My life's work has been to unravel the complexities of the human condition, to bring to light the virtues that make life truly worth living. In our time together, I shall guide you through the cultivation of ethical virtues, an endeavor that is not merely an academic exercise, but a vital pursuit for anyone who yearns for a fulfilling life. The virtues I speak of are not innate gifts bestowed upon a lucky few, but are the result of deliberate and thoughtful cultivation. They are the golden threads in the rich tapestry of a well-lived life, and they require an artist's patience and a craftsman's skill to weave them into your character. Let us first turn our attention to the virtue of courage, a quality often celebrated in tales of heroes and gods. Yet, the courage I speak of is not solely found on the battlefield. It is the quiet resolve to stand by your principles, to speak the truth even when your voice trembles, and to act rightly even when fear claws at your heart. Consider the story of my student, Alexander. When faced with the vast unknown as he stood at the helm of his army, it was not the absence of fear that defined his courage. It was his capacity to move forward in spite of it, to weigh the risks and act for the greater good. In your own life, when have you faced a daunting challenge? How did you respond? Did you find strength in your convictions, or did the specter of fear paralyze you? Now let us examine the virtue of temperance, a principle that seems increasingly out of step with a world indulgent in its excesses. Temperance is the art of balance, the skill of finding the mean between deficiency and excess. It is in this equilibrium that your character finds its optimal expression. You see, to indulge without restraint is to become a slave to your appetites, but to deny pleasure altogether is to wither the vibrancy of life. Look to the story of my own life, where I navigated the fine line between the asceticism of my teacher Plato and the hedonism of the era. Temperance was my compass, guiding my choices and ensuring that my actions aligned with the greater good I sought to serve. As we consider the virtue of justice, it is imperative to understand its multifaceted nature. Justice is not merely a concept to be debated in courts or philosophized in academies. It is an active, living principle that must permeate your actions and interactions. In my time, I spoke of distributive justice and corrective justice, of fairness in allocation and rectification. Yet beyond these, there lies a deeper form of justice that binds the fabric of society together. It is the justice of recognizing the worth of each individual, of giving and receiving what is due, of living within a community where each member upholds the rights and responsibilities that bind them. Recall the leaders of your history, those who stood at the forefront of societal change. They understood that true justice extends beyond personal virtue and becomes the cornerstone of a just society. How do you practice justice in your daily life? Are you fair in your dealings, generous in your judgments, and equitable in your actions? Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound lessons from the legend. Lastly, for this part of our discourse, I invite you to explore the virtue of wisdom, a virtue that is often misunderstood. Wisdom is not merely the accumulation of knowledge or the astuteness of intellect. It is the application of knowledge with discernment, the marriage of experience with understanding. The wisdom I cultivated through my lifetime was not confined to the scrolls of my writings or the lectures I delivered. It was embedded in the way I lived, in the decisions I made, and in the counsel I provided. Wisdom guided my hand when I classified the realms of the natural world, and when I laid the foundations for systems of ethics and politics that continue to influence your world today. As we conclude this first part, I leave you with a question that cuts to the very core of wisdom. In the multitude of choices that lie before you, how do you discern the path that leads to the highest good? Now let us take a moment before we proceed to the next virtue. Collect your thoughts, consider the stories I've shared, and when you're ready, we shall continue our exploration of the ethical virtues that stand as the pillars of a life well lived. The harmony of the spheres, achieving balance through practical wisdom. As we advance on this philosophical voyage, allow me to introduce to you the concept of practical wisdom, or phronesis, a virtue that is essential for the harmonious balance between knowledge and action, theory and practice. This is a virtue that underpins the ability to make right decisions that serve not only oneself, but also the broader community. Consider the intricacy of a symphony, each instrument playing its part, contributing to a greater harmony. Practical wisdom is akin to the role of the conductor, ensuring that every action, every decision, contributes to the symphony of a good life. It is this wisdom that allows us to navigate the complex moral landscape of human life, to discern the right course of action in situations where the moral law is not written in stone, but must be intuited from the nuanced context of life's ever-shifting scenarios. In my life, practical wisdom was not an abstract concept. It was demonstrated through my teachings, through the way I instructed my students to observe the world, to question, and to learn. It was the same wisdom that guided my counsel to rulers and my contributions to the politics of the polis. Take, for example, my classification of governments in my work, Politics. I did not merely describe them. I sought to understand their workings, to discern the merits and flaws of each, and to offer guidance on how each might be steered towards the common good. In your own life, observe the leaders and the systems of governance that you encounter. Think about how practical wisdom could guide these systems towards a balance that benefits all. Moving forward, let us delve into the virtue of magnanimity, a quality often overshadowed by more immediate virtues, yet no less vital. Magnanimity is the loftiness of spirit that enables one to undertake tasks of great value, to pursue purposes that transcend petty self-interests. It is the hallmark of those who dream of what could be and who dare to reach beyond the commonplace. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound lessons from the legend. In my interactions with Alexander, I instilled in him a sense of magnanimity that would later define his reign. He did not set out merely to conquer lands, but to spread Hellenistic culture, to merge worlds, and to envision an empire that was as much about the exchange of ideas as it was about the expansion of territory. In the context of your life, magnanimity might not manifest through the conquest of nations, but through the courage to pursue ideals that elevate not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. It is found in the artist who aspires to create beauty, in the scientist who seeks to unravel the mysteries of the universe, and in the philanthropist who strives to alleviate suffering. Now let us turn our gaze to the virtue of friendship, for it is through our relationships with others that many of the ethical virtues find their fullest expression. In my Nicomachean Ethics, I wrote extensively on the nature of friendship, describing it as a mutual goodwill between people who recognize the good in each other. Friendship, I posited, comes in three forms: those based on utility, those founded on pleasure, and the highest form, those grounded in virtue. It is this last form, the friendship of the good, that provides the most fertile ground for the cultivation of virtues. Such friendships are rare and precious, for they are based on a mutual respect and a shared commitment to the pursuit of the good life. Reflect upon your own friendships. Do they challenge you to grow in virtue, to become a better version of yourself? Or do they merely serve immediate pleasures or transient benefits? The company you keep is a reflection of the values you espouse and the virtues you cultivate. Lastly, in this portion of our discourse, let us consider the virtue of generosity. True generosity is not simply a matter of giving away what you have. It is giving in a way that enriches both the giver and the receiver. It is an act that reflects a deep understanding of the needs of others, as well as a genuine desire to contribute to their well-being. In my life, I practice generosity not only through the sharing of wealth, but through the sharing of knowledge. For what greater gift can one offer than the keys to wisdom? I established the Lyceum, a school that welcomed all who sought knowledge, providing a space where ideas could be shared freely and where learning was prized above all. In your own life, generosity can take many forms, from the material to the spiritual. It can be as simple as sharing time with someone in need, or as profound as offering forgiveness to one who has wronged you. Generosity of spirit is a beacon that illuminates the path to a more just and compassionate world. As we conclude this second part, I invite you to consider the role of practical wisdom in your life. How do you integrate your knowledge and experience to make decisions that not only serve your ends, but also contribute to the well-being of others? Reflect upon this, and when you are ready, we shall continue our exploration into the ethical virtues, delving deeper into the qualities that define the essence of humanity and the pursuit of a life well lived. The apex of ethical ascent, nurturing the noblest qualities of the human spirit. In this final contemplation of our exploration into the ethical virtues, we ascend to the pinnacle of moral development, the cultivation of the noblest qualities of the human spirit. This is where the individual transcends the self and becomes a beacon of excellence, inspiring others to strive for a higher plane of being. We begin with the virtue of humility, a quality often misconstrued as mere modesty or self-deprecation. However, true humility is a recognition of one's own limitations and a receptiveness to the infinite possibility of learning and growth. It is the antithesis of hubris, the destructive pride that I frequently warned against. Humility in its purest form was embodied in Socrates, my teacher, Plato's mentor. Socrates famously proclaimed his wisdom lay in knowing that he knew nothing. This acknowledgement of ignorance is not a declaration of futility, but a powerful admission of the boundless scope for knowledge. In your era, filled with information and often plagued with misinformation, how do you practice humility? Are you open to new ideas, willing to admit mistakes, and ready to grow from them? As we examine the virtue of respect, we delve into the recognition and appreciation of the intrinsic worth of all individuals. Respect is the foundation upon which a just society is built. It is the acknowledgement of the dignity of others, not because of what they can offer us, but simply because they are fellow travelers on the journey of life. In my time, the polis was the bedrock of society, and respect was a cornerstone of civic life. It was understood that without a mutual respect among citizens, the polis would fracture and fall into decay. In your interactions, whether face-to-face or through the digital agora of your time, do you uphold respect for others, even those with whom you vehemently disagree? Now let us turn our attention to the virtue of gratitude. Gratitude is more than a fleeting sentiment expressed in passing. It is a profound and persistent recognition of the benevolence we receive from others and from the world at large. It is an acknowledgement of our interconnectedness and the manifold gifts that life bestows upon us. In my lectures, I often emphasize the importance of recognizing and appreciating the contributions of others to our well-being. Whether it is the farmer who grows your food, the teacher who imparts knowledge, or the friend who offers a listening ear, gratitude enriches your life by deepening your connections with others. How often do you pause to express gratitude, and how does this shape your relationships and your view of the world? Lastly, we arrive at the virtue of compassion, a quality that is perhaps the most human of all virtues. Compassion is the empathetic response to the suffering of others, coupled with a genuine desire to alleviate it. It is not passive sympathy, but an active engagement with the plight of our fellow beings. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound lessons from the legend. In the face of suffering, whether through illness, injustice, or misfortune, I have always maintained that it is the responsibility of those who are able to offer aid. The mark of a truly ethical individual, and indeed a moral society, is the presence of compassion in thought, word, and deed. As we conclude our philosophical journey, I leave you with a call to introspection. Reflect upon the virtues we have discussed: humility, respect, gratitude, and compassion. How do these qualities manifest in your life? Are they mere abstract ideals, or are they living principles that guide your actions? The pursuit of ethical virtues is a lifelong endeavor, a quest that is never fully completed, for there is always room for growth, for learning, for improvement. It is my hope that our time together has ignited in you a desire to cultivate these virtues, to weave them into the fabric of your character, and to live a life that not only seeks personal fulfillment, but also contributes to the greater good of humanity. As you continue on your path, remember that the ethical virtues are not solitary stars in the firmament of the soul, but a constellation that shines brightest when aligned. They are the guiding lights that lead us toward the apex of ethical ascent, where the noblest qualities of the human spirit are nurtured and brought to fruition. The Virtuous Odyssey, Aristotle's beacon for humanity's flourishing. As Aristotle, it is my intention to continue the discourse on the practical application of ethical virtues as we together embark on this virtuous odyssey through the complexities of your contemporary society. We shall delve into the realms where these virtues are most needed and explore how they can serve as beacons to guide humanity towards a state of eudaimonia, a flourishing life. Navigating the ethics of global interconnectivity. In your world, technology has woven a tapestry of global interconnectivity that transcends the boundaries of the city-states known in my time. This interconnectedness brings with it an amplified capacity for both cooperation and conflict. To navigate this vast network ethically, one must employ phronesis, practical wisdom. It is with this virtue that you must discern how to act in ways that contribute positively to the global polis, choosing collaboration over division and understanding over ignorance. The wisdom of environmental custodianship. Your age has been witness to the exploitation of natural resources to the point of threatening the very fabric of life. The virtue of temperance, or self-resign, must be called upon to moderate human consumption and ambition. Through temperance, you can find the balance necessary to provide for your needs without compromising the ability of your planet to sustain future generations. Fostering equitable societies. The challenges of inequality and injustice persist in your age, as they did in mine. The cardinal virtue of justice, or dikaiosune, remains central to the creation of a fair society. This virtue demands that each individual be given their due, not merely in terms of wealth, but in respect, opportunity, and care. It is through justice that the bonds of humanity are strengthened and the community thrives. Revitalizing civic virtue. The political landscape of your time is fraught with strife and discord, often leading to disillusionment with the process of governance itself. The Aristotelian concept of civic virtue must be revived. Engaging in the life of your communities with courage and wisdom and nurturing the common good over personal gain is the hallmark of a truly democratic society, a society that lives up to the ideals of its philosophical foundation. The quest for personal fulfillment. In the pursuit of personal fulfillment, many in your time chase after material wealth, mistaking it for true happiness. Yet, as I have taught, happiness is the result of a life lived in accordance with virtue. The virtue of magnanimity, or megalopsychia, encourages you to seek greatness of soul. It is not through the accumulation of possessions that one achieves fulfillment, but through the pursuit of excellence in one's personal and public life. In conclusion, my students of the present, let these virtues be your companions as you forge your path through the complexities of your world. Let them illuminate the way toward a society that not only survives, but thrives. One that honors the dignity of each individual and the collective harmony of all. It is through the cultivation of these virtues that you will not only navigate life's challenges, but also elevate the human spirit to its highest potential. Remember, the virtues I speak of are not static relics of a bygone age, but living principles that adapt and endure. They are as relevant now as they were in the Lyceum where I once taught. Embrace them, practice them, and let them guide you to the greatest good, the good life that all men and women aspire to, a life of virtue, wisdom, and well-being. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound lessons from the legend.